INFJ. Your intuition isn't quiet. It's crowded. Too many good inputs, not enough spacing. Your mind collects relationship data like an airport control tower during rush hour, and every signal feels urgent. Text tone analysis, timing patterns, micro expressions from 3 conversations ago. All valuable information, but it's creating mental gridlock instead of clarity. Here's what I'm giving you in the next few minutes. A simple ritual that moves you from mental noise to a clean inner yes or no you can trust. Not belief, not hope, but certainty. We'll focus specifically on relationship boundaries because that's where INFJs get stuck most often. By the end, you won't have more information. You'll have direction and one actionable boundary you can set today. Before we start, please hit the like button, comment, and subscribe so you won't miss any of our weekly deep dives into the world of personality types. And if you are looking to achieve a deeper understanding of yourself and your personality type, click the link in the comments to take our favorite free personality test. The root problem: when good input becomes mental chaos. The reason INFJs overthink relationships isn't because we lack wisdom. It's because we're processing unfiltered data without proper spacing. Think of your mind as an airport runway during peak travel season. Every thought, every emotional signal, every piece of relationship information is a plane requesting landing clearance. But without air traffic control, they just circle endlessly, burning fuel and creating anxiety. Most relationship advice tells you to think harder, analyze deeper, or trust your gut more. But for INFJs, the gut is already screaming 20 different messages at once. Your intuition isn't broken, it's overwhelmed. The signal is there, but it's buried under layers of should-do analysis and fear-based projections. Here's what happens when you collect endless relationship data without processing it. You notice your friend takes 6 hours to respond to texts, but responds to Instagram stories immediately. You catalog this information. Then you notice they seem distracted during phone calls, but animated when talking about their new job. More data. Then they cancel plans last minute, but apologize profusely. Even more data. Each piece of information feels significant because, as an INFJ, you're naturally attuned to patterns and underlying meanings. But without a system to process these inputs, they just accumulate, like planes stacking in a holding pattern. The anxiety isn't coming from the information itself. It's coming from the mental traffic jam. Society's extroverted majority makes this worse. According to research, estimates suggest that as much as 74% of the population gains energy from social interactions and groups. Because society tends to cater to the majority, it promotes extroverted behaviors as the ideal. This creates pressure for instant responses, immediate availability, and constant social engagement. For INFJs, this pressure translates into relationship overthinking. You analyze every delayed text response because the cultural norm says immediate replies show care. You second-guess your need for alone time because the extroverted ideal suggests that good friends are always available. You question your authentic responses because they don't match the socially expected timeline. The traditional advice fails because it assumes more thinking equals better decisions. But for INFJs, thinking without proper mental spacing just creates more circling planes. You can analyze that friend's texting patterns for hours, but analysis won't tell you whether to address it directly, adjust your expectations, or step back from the friendship entirely. The truth is, your intuition already knows the answer. It knew within the first few interactions whether this relationship felt balanced, whether their communication style worked for you, and what boundaries you needed to feel respected. But that clear signal got buried under weeks of data collection and social conditioning about how relationships should work. This is where most INFJs get stuck. You have incredible pattern recognition and emotional intelligence, but you're applying it like a researcher instead of a decision maker. You're looking for certainty through accumulation when you actually need certainty through elimination. Not more planes on the runway, but better spacing between the ones that matter. The solution isn't to stop noticing patterns or to become less sensitive to relationship dynamics. Your depth is your strength. The solution is to create intentional space between input and response, between data collection and decision-making. This is where the principle of restriction comes in, and why a structured ritual can transform your relationship to your own intuition. When you learn to pause strategically, your mental runway clears. The most important signals rise to the surface naturally. The anxiety-driven analysis stops, and alignment-based knowing begins. The restriction principle, creating space for inner knowing. In Kabbalah, there's a foundational concept called restriction. It's not about holding back or hesitating. It's about creating a vessel that can properly receive light. The light is constant and infinite, but without the right container, it either overwhelms the receiver or passes right through without impact. Restriction is the strategic pause that shapes the vessel so the light can fill it completely. Your intuition works the same way. The guidance is always there, streaming constantly like light, but your mind needs to become a proper vessel to receive it clearly. When you're in reactive mode, jumping from input to analysis to worry to more analysis, you're like a vessel with cracks. The intuitive signal leaks out as fast as it comes in. Restriction in this context means pausing before you act on relationship data. Not because you're avoiding the situation or procrastinating, but because you're creating the mental space necessary for clear reception. It's the difference between a rushed decision driven by anxiety and a grounded choice aligned with your authentic needs. Most INFJs fear that pausing means missing opportunities or appearing rude. You worry that if you don't respond to that text immediately, you'll seem disinterested. If you don't address that boundary issue right now, the moment will pass. If you take time to process that confusing conversation, you'll lose momentum. But here's what actually happens when you apply restriction. That urgent feeling to respond immediately usually comes from anxiety, not intuition. Anxiety says everything is urgent and needs to be fixed now. Intuition says some things are urgent, some things need time, and some things will resolve themselves if you stop interfering. When you pause strategically, you stop feeding the anxiety loop. Instead of collecting more relationship data to analyze, you create space for the pattern to become clear. Instead of reacting to what someone else did or didn't do, you tune in to what you actually need in this relationship. This transforms how you approach boundary setting completely. Reactive boundary setting sounds like this. I'm frustrated because you always do this, so now I need you to stop. It comes from accumulated resentment and feels like an ultimatum. The other person gets defensive because they're being asked to fix your emotional state. Intentional boundary creation sounds different. I've noticed I feel anxious when plans change last minute. I need a heads up when possible so I can adjust mentally. Are you willing to try that? This comes from self-awareness and feels like an invitation to improve the relationship together. The restriction principle teaches you to pause between noticing a pattern and deciding what it means, between feeling triggered and choosing your response, between collecting data and taking action. In that pause, your natural wisdom has room to emerge. This isn't about becoming passive or overthinking even more. It's about strategic timing that honors both your depth and your need for clarity. When you restrict first, revelation follows naturally. The mental runway clears, and your inner knowing can finally land. The 10-minute ritual. Step-by-step process. Now let's walk through the actual ritual that transforms mental noise into clear direction. This isn't meditation or journaling. It's a structured process designed specifically for the INFJ mind that needs both depth and decisive action. Grab a pen and paper, find a quiet space, and let's begin. Minute 1. Posture and breathwork. Start by sitting with your feet flat on the floor and your spine straight but not rigid. Place both hands on your chest. This isn't about perfect meditation posture. It's about creating physical stability so your nervous system can settle. Now we'll do 2 rounds of structured breathing. Inhale for a count of 4, hold for 2 counts, then exhale for 6 counts. The exhale is longer than the inhale because we're activating your parasympathetic nervous system, shifting you out of analysis mode and into receptive mode. First round. Breathe in for 4, hold for 2, out for 6. Second round, same pattern. As you breathe, set this intention silently. I create space. The light fills me. This isn't mystical language. It's a reminder that you're making room for clarity instead of adding more mental activity. Minutes 2 and 3. Write one sentence. Take your pen and write this question at the top of your paper. What relationship decision is alive right now? Notice I said decision, not situation or problem. We're looking for something that requires a choice from you, not something you need to analyze further. Write one sentence maximum, not a paragraph explaining the background or listing all the complications. One sentence that names the specific decision you're facing. Examples. Do I tell Sarah that her last-minute cancellations stress me out? Do I ask Marcus to text me when he's running late? Do I step back from this friendship that feels one-sided? If multiple decisions come up, pick the one that feels most urgent in your body, not most important in your head. The one that makes your chest feel tight or your stomach flutter when you think about avoiding it. Write that one sentence and put your pen down. Minutes 4 through 6. 2-column clarity dump. Draw a line down the middle of your paper. Left column gets the header fears and shoulds. Right column gets values and authentic needs. Left column first. Write down everything your anxiety brain is saying about this decision. The fears about their reaction. The shoulds about being a good friend. The guilt about seeming demanding. The worry about conflict or rejection. Don't edit these thoughts. Just dump them onto paper. I should be more understanding. They'll think I'm needy. Good friends don't complain about stuff like this. Now the right column. This is harder for most INFJs because we're trained to consider everyone else's needs first. Write what you actually value in relationships and what you authentically need to feel respected and connected. Not what you think you should need, but what you actually need. I value reliability because it helps me feel secure. I need honest communication even when it's uncomfortable. I value friendships where both people can ask for what they need. Take the full 3 minutes for this. The first minute will be surface thoughts. The second minute goes deeper. And the third minute often reveals the core truth you've been avoiding. Minutes 7 and 8. Body check for physical signals. Put your pen down and close your eyes. Read the decision sentence you wrote in minute 2 out loud. Then immediately scan your body for physical responses. This isn't about thinking your way to an answer. It's about noticing where your body holds the truth. Check 3 specific areas. First, your chest. Does it feel open and expansive or tight and contracted? Second, your gut. Does your stomach feel settled or does it clench or flutter? Third, your jaw. Are you unconsciously clenching or does your face feel relaxed? If your body feels open, settled, and relaxed when you say the decision out loud, that's a physical yes. Your system is telling you this choice aligns with your authentic needs. If your chest tightens, your stomach clenches, or your jaw locks, that's a physical no. Your body is saying this choice doesn't feel safe or aligned right now. Sometimes you'll get a no on the timing, but a yes on the boundary itself. Your body might tense when you think about having the conversation tomorrow, but feel open when you imagine having it next week. Pay attention to these nuances. Minutes 9 and 10. Commit to one micro action. Based on your body's signal, you're going to commit to one specific action you can take today. Not someday when it feels easier, but today. If your body gave you a yes, choose one micro action that moves you toward that boundary or conversation. If your body gave you a no, choose one boundary that protects your energy until you have more clarity. For a yes, I'll text Sarah tonight asking if we can chat for 10 minutes this week about something small that would help our friendship. I'll bring up the timing thing with Marcus when he picks me up tomorrow. I'll schedule 15 minutes this weekend to write out what I want to say. For a no, I'll wait until after my work deadline to have this conversation. I'll give myself permission to take 3 days before responding to her text. I'll talk to my therapist about this pattern before I address it with him. Write your chosen action down and put it in your calendar immediately. This step transforms the ritual from insight to impact. Your intuition guided you to a clear choice, and now you're honoring that guidance with concrete action. The key is that you're not acting from anxiety anymore. You're acting from alignment. The mental runway cleared, the signal landed, and now you're moving forward with certainty instead of second guessing. Real-world application and next steps. Let's make this concrete with two scenarios INFJs face constantly. First, texting responsiveness. You notice a friend consistently takes hours to reply to your messages, but responds immediately to group chats or social media. Your anxiety brain starts collecting evidence. They saw my message at 2 p.m., posted on Instagram at 3 p.m., but didn't reply until 8 p.m. Using the ritual, you'd identify the live decision. Do I address their delayed responses? Your body check might reveal tension in your chest, suggesting this pattern genuinely affects your sense of connection. Your microaction could be, I'll mention that I prefer quicker responses for time-sensitive stuff, but I'm fine with slower replies for general check-ins. Second scenario, time reliability. Someone in your life consistently runs 15 to 30 minutes late, leaving you waiting and feeling disrespected. The decision. Do I ask them to text me when they're running behind? Your values column might reveal, I value punctuality because it shows mutual respect. Your body might feel open and settled when you imagine making this request. The boundary language becomes, I really value our time together, and I get anxious when I'm not sure if plans are still happening. Could you shoot me a quick text if you're running more than 10 minutes late? It helps me relax and be present when we do connect. Notice how these boundaries protect the relationship rather than attack the person. You're not saying they're inconsiderate or demanding they change their personality. You're creating conditions that help you stay open and connected instead of resentful and withdrawn. The reason INFJs struggle with boundary setting isn't because we don't know what we need. It's because we're afraid our needs will damage the relationship. But the opposite is true. Unexpressed needs create distance. Clear, loving boundaries create safety for both people. Commit to practicing this ritual daily for 7 days. Not because you'll have 7 major relationship decisions, but because you're training your nervous system to pause before reacting. You're building the muscle of restriction, so it becomes automatic. By day 7, you'll notice the difference between anxiety-driven analysis and alignment-based knowing. The mental runway stays clearer because you're not letting every relationship input create an emergency landing situation. Your intuition isn't broken, it's just crowded. This ritual clears the mental runway so your inner knowing can land with certainty. Remember, restriction first, then revelation. When you pause strategically, you act from alignment instead of anxiety. If you want to continue the journey to understanding yourself or an INFJ in your life, click either of the following videos, where we continue to unlock the secrets of the INFJ personality type.